The government of Ghana have deported three Israelis who arrived in Ghana on December 10th, 2025, in retaliation to the government of Israel detaining four Ghanaian lawmakers and deporting three Ghanaians to Ghana on December 7th, 2025. I'll break down the facts of this matter and give you the context of it in a bit. My name is Denebi Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer who lives in the US. On this channel, I talk about geopolitics from the perspective of an African. So if that's something you are into, subscribe to this channel. Now let's get right into it. So on December 7th, 2025, seven Ghanaians, including four lawmakers, went to Tel Aviv, Israel to attend a conference, an annual conference on cybersecurity. And when they arrived, they were detained at the airport in Ben Gurion. The name of the airport is Ben Gurion in Tel Aviv, Israel. When they were detained, the four Ghanaian lawmakers who were part of the detainees presented their credentials to the Israeli authorities to prove that they are government officials from Ghana. That is important. So, international relations, usually, people who are government officials are not subject to routine treatment people who are not government officials go through. Let me give you what I mean by routine treatment, and then I would give you what I mean by government officials, then we move on. So, routine treatment is usually if you have been on international flights before. When you arrive at an airport, sometimes people are selected randomly to be questioned at the airport to ensure that they are not coming to the country to do something nefarious. So if you're a Nigerian going to Europe, for example, specifically the Netherlands, and you're a woman, you could be routinely questioned because there is a history of Nigerian women going to Netherlands to engage in prostitution. And so that is an example of a routine treatment. I have a friend from who was born in Russia and she's an American. She tells me that anytime she travels internationally and coming back to the US, she is stopped at the airport and questioned for at least 2 hours. This is because she was born in Russia. So even though she has an American passport, the place of birth is Russia. And America have beef with Russia officially. And so tells me that anytime she is stopped and questioned at the airport, usually sees that it's her and women who have hijab. So basically, Russians and people from the Middle East are subject to inhumane treatment at airports in the US, right? But they've come to accept that and expect that because of the relationship between the US and those places, right? So Ghana and the Israel do not have that type of relationship where Ghanaians who are traveling to Israel need to be questioned excessively at the airport. But the thing about routine questioning is that a person from anywhere in the world can be randomly picked on to be searched. One time at the airport in Atlanta, I had on shito in my bag and I naively disclosed that I had shitter in my bag. I said naively because people don't usually do that. So when I disclosed I have shitter in my bag, they opened it and then had like 7 bottles of shitter in my bag. And then the workers at the airport were like, why do I have so many of the same sauce? Am I coming to sell it in the US? I'm like, no, it's for me. And they're like, yo, if it's one person, why do you need seven? And I'm like, bro, I'm coming to the US to go to school. I'm not going to see my family for a very long time. This is a delicacy for my country. I need it. I was let go after some time, but they questioned me. Those are examples of routine questioning. But if you are somebody holding diplomatic passport, usually you are exempted from this type of routine treatment, right? Because it's part of international diplomacy relations to give people with diplomatic passport this type of preferential treatment. You don't want your president to be stopped at an airport in Washington, D.C. and be searched like he's a common person. It is humiliating to your country. That is why these laws are in place. You understand that? So yeah, we are all equal before the law, but the president is more equal than the rest of us. So when the four Ghanaian lawmakers presented their credentials to the Israeli authorities, they were supposed to be let go, but they were not. They were still detained for 5 hours for questioning. And after the questioning, the three people who were not part of the minister's delegation were asked to go back to Ghana. They were put on the next flight. They were deported. And according to the Israeli authorities, that was because the government, the Ghanaian embassy in Israel, was not responding to their demands for deportation. So they took matters into their own hands. Is that what you do? Anyway, even the US didn't do that. So that happened on Sunday. And then on Wednesday today, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Kuteto Ablakwa, put out a letter to the Israeli embassy in Ghana demanding that the ambassador from Israel show up to answer questions on why they do that. And if he doesn't show up, Ghana is going to retaliate. I don't know if the Israeli ambassador showed up to the ministry or not, but Ghana have retaliated by deporting 3 Israelis who arrived in Ghana at the airport today. So this is a full-on diplomatic war between Ghana and Israel. That is interesting. I'll give you an historical context. Israel and Ghana are supposed to be friends. Ghana is one of Israel's best friends in Africa. The first instructor for the Ghana Air Force was an Israeli airman. And Ghana had maintained diplomatic relations with Israel since the 1957 when we had independence. Even in 1973, the whole Africa cut diplomatic ties with Israel, including Ghana. But Ghana maintained unofficial relationship with Israel at the back of Africa until 1993, 1994, when we opened diplomatic relations with Israel. After Ghana opened diplomatic relations with Israel, the Israeli embassy in Ghana was officially opened. Ghana embassy in Israel was opened. But I need to add this. Before Ghana opened diplomatic relations with Israel, Ghana held the position that a two-state solution should be what should be used to dissolve the conflict in Gaza. So Israel knows that for 45 years, Ghana wants there to be a two-state solution to the conflict in Gaza. Ghana's position on two-state solution pre-exists the Oslo Accord solution, which came in 1993 and 1995. So this year, the president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, went to the United Nations General Assembly and reiterated Ghana's 45 years position that a two-state solution should be sought to end the conflict in Gaza. And then the president of Ghana in that same speech also criticized the president of the United States, Donald Trump, for refusing visa to the president of Palestine to attend the UN General Assembly in the US. So there's something called United Nations Headquarters Treaty, which ensures that the president of the US will allow all world leaders who are attending the UN General Assembly to attend, no matter what the position of the US is on that country. Every US government has, to an extent, held that treaty. Fidel Castro gave the longest speech in the history of the United Nations when he attended the General Assembly, even though the US did not have diplomatic relations with Cuba at the time. The same with Gaddafi. One of the longest speech was given when Libya and the US did not have diplomatic relations. President Trump officially may be the first US president to flout the UN Headquarters Treaty. I said officially because under Obama, there was something that happened with Iran. The leader of Iran was not allowed to attend, but the foreign minister attended the General Assembly. So That was a technicality the US used to get around the treaty. Trump did not use any technicality. He just did the wrong thing without any respect to diplomatic norms. That was wrong. So the president of Ghana called him out. And number three, Ghana gave some aid or relief items to Palestine this year. Ghana has a history of doing that again. We've done that for Haiti, Guinea, and other countries going through hard times. So this year, Ghana decided to give aid to three countries, Jamaica, Sudan, and Palestine, because they are going through hard time. And I believe those three things that Ghana did, the two things the president said in a speech, and the aid may have rubbed Israel the wrong way. So they are taking it out on our citizens and our leaders. And so Ghana retaliated. That is the state of affairs as we stand now in on what today's day? Today is December 10th, 2025. It is 11:26 a.m. in Texas, where I live. How this will play out is still yet to be determined. It should be 9 time in Ghana, so we probably will not hear anything about this until tomorrow or the days after. I'll keep you updated if something important comes up. All right, I'm still doing my 2025 end of year review of Africa, which I call Big Africa 2025. The next video will come out tomorrow. So yeah, there is that. And so subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my thought on geopolitics in Africa. I'll talk to you later.